Hey, unknown here. UAO students, listeners, how you doing? Today's podcast is the official first episode of Season 1 of the Unpopular Anime Opinion podcast, or as it could also be known as, the first episode of the anime winter season 2021. So, the title of this episode is Attack on Titan, for kids or adults. But I gotta come clean. This title is a misdirect. I'm clearing my conscience. What this title really means is Attack on Titan, shonen or seinen. Now, I find this to be a frustrating topic. It's a little annoying. Now let me say this. I have watched all episodes of the anime to date, and I am also up to date with the manga. So, let's begin. The definition of the word shonen, via Wikipedia, is shonen are manga marketed towards young teen males between the ages 12 and 18. The age group varies with individual readers and different magazines. Shonen literally means boy or youth, and manga means comic. Thus, the complete phrase means young person's comic, or simply boy's comic. Now, the definition of the word seinen, via Wikipedia, is seinen manga are manga marketed towards young adult men. In Japanese, the word seinen literally means youth, but the term seinen manga is also used to describe the target audience of comics like Weekly Manga Times and Weekly Manga Garaku, which cater specifically to men's interests and are marketed towards a demographic of older teenage boys and adult men between the ages of 18 and 45. Seinen manga are distinguished from shonen manga, which are for younger teen boys. Side note, it's actually crazy to me that Tokyo Ghoul is considered seinen, however, officially Attack on Titan is not. And here is where my annoyance kicks in. You see, I've always considered Attack on Titan a seinen. That very first anime season was a thrill ride of unexpected gruesome deaths, mature characters, time skips, explicit language, and a phenomenal score by composer Hiroyuki Sawano. However, after a 4-year anime break, the second season finally aired. But for a casual anime-only watcher, I personally feel like one would think something changed. It became more conversational. The world expanded, naturally, and it felt like there was less action as the characters learned more about their surroundings. Now, with this second season, I personally wouldn't use this as a recommendation to anyone who's never seen anime and already has a preconceived negative image of what anime is. Not simply because it's the second season and you'd be required to backtrack on what's happened prior, but because I feel it simply felt different. This momentum had slowed. It felt more serious, more political, which is weird because during that 4-year anime break, I picked up the manga as I couldn't wait and had no idea when and if it was going to get a second season. And while reading the manga from where the season 1 of the anime left off, I felt no change. I actually felt it was a natural, understandable story progression. Now, to be honest, in terms of the second anime season, I actually felt like something was a little off. Maybe it was its director, the production schedule, or simply something significantly happened and changed behind the scenes. But I didn't feel like it returned to its great storytelling from season 1. Until the third anime season aired, and it's been back to its awesomeness ever since. Okay, so here's a couple of examples of everyday real-life situations that, for me, helps to solidify that Attack on Titan is very much a seinen and appeals to that market. Now, whenever a girl asks me about anime, I usually reply saying this: anime is like movies or TV. There's something for everyone. You see, there's this common misconception by the general audience where as soon as they think of anime, they automatically think of cartoons. Not only do people usually think of cartoons when they think of anime, but they also think of content for kids. And then the opposite, which is anime girls with huge tits. Basically hentai. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what hentai is, UAO students, listeners, it's essentially animated porn. Now, of course, that shit does exist. But obviously, when it comes to how you view anime, people usually see what they want to see. It really does depend on what you want to see, or simply on what you're looking for. So listen, it's not my fault if deep down in the corners of your mind that you don't want to talk about, you secretly like that shit. Hentai, that is. Admit it. No need to be ashamed. I won't tell anyone. Your secret is safe with me. So, when it comes to anyone asking about anime, and I'm already aware they have a cliche poor view of what it is exactly, in addition, I simply say, there's something for everyone when it comes to anime. There's horror, thrillers, action, fantasy, slice of life, content for kids, porn, comedy, you name it. Just like movies and TV shows have categories where people gravitate towards their favorites. It's simply an animated form. And if you don't have an issue with animation, give it a try. On a side note, there was a girl I was seeing at one time that completely disregarded anything animation. As a whole fucking storytelling medium she couldn't rate at all. I thought that was so ignorant. But hey, everyone's different. And it is what it is. I mean, some might have a condition, like a form of automatonophobia, that might include animation. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I usually suggest 2 anime that I feel have a perfect complete run, or first seasons, that when watched and taken seriously, will change your preconceived idea of what anime is. They're gripping, excellently written, serious with thriller or horror elements, with no overly sexualized images of women, no big breasts, none of the cliche ecchi tropes the general audience expect. And they're not for kids. Those 2 anime I normally suggest are Death Note and Attack on Titan. Now, when I suggested giving Attack on Titan a try to one girl, she did exactly that. We would watch while snuggled up chilling. She really got into it. It was something she didn't expect. The surprise due to the serious nature of its storytelling. The shock of Eren being eaten. The fucking protagonist of the show being eaten. Killed. Since when does that happen? Of course, we know that doesn't last, but if you're watching it for the first time with no prior knowledge, it's mind-blowing. It literally breaks any normal storytelling structure. And when it touched on Mikasa's backstory, she was like, what the fuck is going on? Those brutal deaths she encountered at such a young age, leading to her being forever mentally changed? Such dark themes. In a cartoon. No way. This can't be. A cartoon? This is one of those moments when I knew mangaka Hajime Asayama's Attack on Titan could change people's minds about anime, and hopefully expand their horizons. There was this other random moment at an old place of work. I was in the break room watching Netflix as I had control of what was being watched at the time. And whenever I'd have such dibs, I'd always put it on anime. Because 1, that's my preference, and I don't give a damn what anyone else thinks. And 2, I knew it would piss people off. So as I'm sitting there, the manager strolls past and makes a statement, different to anything 99% of what my other work colleagues would say. He said, "Oh, I've seen this. I watched this with my wife at home. It's really good." And boom, just like that, Attack on Titan really is a show that appeals to the older crowd. Do you honestly think a manager would come out with, "Oh, I watched Fairy Tail with my wife. It was surprisingly good"? I doubt it. By the way, I have nothing against Fairy Tail. Now, from my personal view, in addition to all the encounters of others and their feedback, Attack on Titan is indeed a seinen. However, a lot of anime fans feel it's a shonen, potentially fueled by comments from YouTubers or the magazine it's published in. But if they actually thought for themselves, such things shouldn't matter. And what I mean is, don't blindly listen to some YouTuber who covers anime and calls it a shonen, or just because it's published in a shonen magazine due to its content. Is it really a shonen? A little while back, I commented on a YouTube video talking about Attack on Titan, where the host called Attack on Titan a shonen. This didn't go down well with the sheep fans who can't think for themselves. I essentially said to him, Attack on Titan is not shonen. Define shonen. I was met with such silly replies like, what does the content have to do with whether it's shonen or seinen? Or, Attack on Titan is being serialized by a shonen magazine. Now it's like I said, define shonen, define seinen, and then tell me which category you feel Attack on Titan fits under. Everyone essentially ignored those simple questions, which would have pretty much had them playing right into my hands. Just because it's in Kodansha's monthly shonen magazine, that automatically makes it a shonen? Despite its content. Really? Are you aware the ever-popular weekly Shonen Jump magazine passed on Attack on Titan? Just think about it. If the great material of Attack on Titan was put in a magazine that has a smaller audience reach due to its intended age range, would it be as popular? I feel there's plenty of great seinen titles that don't get the recognition they deserve simply because they're not given the avenue to reach a wider audience. There's a reason why there's only been one R-rated movie to ever hit $1 billion worldwide at the box office, and that's Todd Phillips' 2019 movie Joker. The only one in 2019. Out of more than $40 billion movies, only one of that 40 has been R-rated. This is partly due to the fact that R-rated movies are only designed to be viewed by two quadrants. Having a product that has mature content makes it harder to reach the masses. However, if you still manage to reach a wider audience, it's simply a rare accomplishment. The majority of those 40-plus billion-dollar movies hit 4 quadrants, and only one of those is R-rated, touching on 2 quadrants. These are movies which appeal to all 4 major demographic quadrants of the movie-going audience. The 4 quadrants are 1. Males under 25. 2. Females under 25. 3. Males over 25. And 4. You guessed it. Females over 25. 4 quadrant movies are generally family friendly and are more likely to get more recognition due to being given more avenues to be able to reach more people. So if Attack on Titan was published in a seinen magazine with no change in its content, I highly doubt it would be as popular. It's a business move. It's simply knowing you'd have a hit on your hands by putting what could be considered a seinen in a shonen magazine, giving it a wider audience. However, that doesn't mean it's a shonen. Obviously, this is just my opinion. But listen, here's one of the YouTube replies that I got that I feel was one of the good ones. Well, technically it's a shonen since it's published by a shonen magazine. In my opinion, it was a shonen that turned into a seinen. Eren feels like a shonen character on a seinen series. Also, Death Note is published by a shonen magazine but doesn't give that shonen feeling. Now, there are 2 things in this that I want to touch on. One, where he mentions Eren feels like a shonen character in a seinen series. This is debatable. However, one of the things shonens are known to do with their protagonists is to rarely change their appearance. This is partly due to brand recognition. For example, in Dragon Ball, Kid Goku's face and image remains the same, making toys and other merchandise easy to market. The same with Naruto or Luffy from One Piece, until there's a time skip. And now, when this happens, there is an image that is also rarely changed. However, it's an earned change, an image pivotal to the continuation of the story. For example, Dragon Ball Z or Naruto Shippuden. Unless, of course, you're Ash Ketchum, he'll always look like a kid. Pokemon, that shit cracks me up. Now, let's relate that to Attack on Titan. The lead character, Eren Yeager, is constantly changing in appearance. It's pivotal in its story that time actually moves, and the characters get older. This is not something shonens are known for. Now, the second thing in that YouTube comment reply I wanted to touch on is where he mentions that technically it's a shonen since it's published by a shonen magazine. Now, when I looked up the definition of shonen via Wikipedia, which I know isn't a completely credible source, by the way, I noticed that one statement read, what defines whether or not a series is shonen is the official classification of the magazine it is serialized in. So, I came to the conclusion that, although I initially wanted to put my opinion on this out there, because I've been kind of frustrated on what I've seen people say, the thing is, once I started to do the research on this, I realized officially it is actually considered a shonen. I was wrong, and I'm able to admit that. However, although that may be its official category, I still feel it's a seinen. But with shonens apparently covering such a broad area, which includes darker themes, is there even a need for the word seinen if it can be argued that shonens dip their feet in such waters too? And due to the narrative that anything that is considered to be popular essentially always turns said product or idea into something commercial, apparently the masses are then more likely to simply claim it to be so, regardless of its content. Who knows? I think by the end of this, I feel the question may have morphed from Attack on Titan, shonen or seinen, into, is the word seinen even necessary if shonen covers such a wide area? Long title, but you get my point. Basically, apparently, shonen can essentially be anything, despite its content, if placed in a specific avenue of distribution. Who knew? UAO students, listeners, we've reached the end. Now, after all this, some of you might be thinking, bro, it's not that deep. And to that I say, you're right. But at the exact same time, this is the Unpopular Anime Opinion Podcast. And it's what we cover. It's what we do. And if that's what you're thinking, then why are you listening? Oh, now before I go, I'd like to highlight a cautionary message displayed at the very beginning of Attack on Titan's anime episode number 64, aka Season 4, Episode 5, where it states, "This program contains graphic content, adult themes, and violence that may not be suitable for some viewers and is inappropriate for children. This content is entirely fictional. The content is intended for mature audiences only." Let that sink in. I'll leave you guys with that. Anyway, if you made it this far, you're awesome, and I love it. Hope you enjoyed my first official episode. There'll be more to come. Feel free to follow the Unpopular Anime Opinion Podcast on Instagram for additional content, such as updates, shoutouts, and posts on various anime. Interact and leave your opinions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Also, subscribe to our YouTube for the full version of our podcast, and tweet, retweet, and follow our Twitter in order to get the links to our Spotify, SoundCloud, Anchor, and much more. This is Unknown, signing off. Till next time, UAO students.